Redditors who have had to work with other people's computers, what is the most disturbing thing you have found? Half an inch of fluffy, sticky white gunk coating every inch of the interior. It was a podiatrist's office. It was next to a sort of booth where they would grind the calluses off of old people's feet. I didn't know that when I opened it up. I just knew it smelled faintly of burnt hair. Ms. Paint being used to design the company logo. Buddy wanted me convert a hard drive to a external. Needed some copying and formatting. He had tons of pictures of Arctic sea life. It was like every walrus, seal, etc. on Google image search was saved to his drive. Pretty sure he did it to frick with me. I work as an accountant now, but in a former life I did a stint in tech support. I remember getting a report that a printer, a LaserJet 5P, was constantly jamming. I arrived and started checking all the usual spots for paper fragments to get stuck in the rollers. I flipped down the back cover, and a chunk of fried chicken fell out. I still have no idea. I had a customer who wanted me to find pictures of her son's dong on the computer. The son had gotten in legal trouble in the past for sending unsolicited pictures of his dong to anyone and everyone. He was not allowed to use the internet on the computer, but as his parents were computer illiterate, they had no idea whether or not he was doing it again, and they wanted to find out. I ended up writing her instructions and showing her how to search for herself, as searching for pictures of her underage son's dong was in ethically murky waters. It was a good thing I did, too, because she ended up finding some. Read a story on here about a Geek Squad type guy who found a bunch of gory murder scene photos. Turned out the owner was a homicide detective. Call it professional courtesy, but I feel like that's probably something you should give a heads up about. My dad has his own software company and does tech support for it and general computer repairs for anyone who drops by his office. Don't know what's the most disturbing thing he's come across, but I was present when a man dropped off his mother's laptop. Dad booted it up and immediately encountered a common problem. It was password protected, so he asks the son for the password. The son has to call his mom to get it. The mom tells the son who has to relay it to my dad. Suck big dick 2014. I was setting up my grandfather's printer and he warned me there's a lot of P on there, meaning the PC. I laughed and showed him how to delete his search history. Don't do the job anymore, but once I did an install where they ordered Playboy channel for their service. No big deal, but as soon as I get there he starts, you have the Playboy channel on there, right? I look at the order and say, yeah. So I'm doing the install and his wife offers me a drink and food. I turn it down. We're supposed to. Job policy. I also had to do a virus check on their computer. So after I finish the install for the cable he says, okay, show us the Playboy channel. Usually people wait for us to leave, so it was weird to look up the channel and watch P in a guy's house with his wife on a 65-inch TV. So I excuse myself to work on the computer. As soon as I log in, the last page he was on was importing foreign women for intercourse, like mail order brides. The next tab was for orgies and the next tab was for Craigslist. I didn't go too far into it because it was just really awkward as I heard the sounds from the TV downstairs. So when I go to leave, him and his wife don't look at me and they are fixated on the P. I say my goodbye speech but they don't even turn. It was just weird all around for me. Pictures of graveyards at night and a guy with a hood and a torch walking in them and digging. Was probably a solo black metal artist. Go to beat Vivek AVLT. Plans detailing a prospective campus shooting on the same computer as very sweet emails to his grandmother. He killed himself 2 months prior and I was recovering data for his family. I did not tell them. Guy was severely overweight. I found before and after shaving pics of his crotch and anus. I couldn't even look him in the eye when I handed his computer back to him. Did computer work for 8 years. Conservatively, I serviced around 1,000 machines a year. I never went digging through the computer or anything, but I stumbled upon CP 3 times. We had a contact at the local FBI and there was a quarantine procedure to preserve chain of custody and all that. However, if you really want to gross people out in the office, mention Mr. Santa. This guy had a super slow PC, which was one of the reasons he brought it in. From power on to being able to open the start menu was 45 minutes. The problem is, his desktop background was a full screen image of himself wearing a Santa hat. Only a Santa hat. He was fat and had hundreds of warts everywhere. God dang. Master troll emo. Guy was having problems with his computer, so he brought it into us for a virus removal. Standard stuff. I set it up with a monitor, keyboard, etc and left it to boot up. When I came back it had booted to desktop. The background was a picture of a guy, not the customer, fully nude, spread eagle. I've never switched to monitor off so fast. I'm working Geek Squad years ago. This guy comes in, tatted up, head to toe, not your punk band tats, fully blown multi-years in prison tats, plops down his tower. I read you do data backup. How much to back up all my PIC labor dollars and without missing a beat? I size his P folder and quote him $160 to put it into 2 DVD discs. Manager rips me a new one, not sure why. Labor dollars are huge and go to his bonus, and says I have to do the work. Whatever. I just copy the files over. I don't even see anything. It's just file names whizzing by. Well, one caught my one. Pigrape avi, pie grape, crap. What is this I think? Some sort of math P. Sure enough I fire it up. I have to see. Woman comes out in a nightgown, takes it off, rubs something between her legs, lays down and spreads her legs. Before you know it a fully blown pig rolls into scene, jumps on the bed, and the rest is history. Then I realized in the split second the file name was on my screen. I misread it, and could never unsee it. My grandmother passed away recently, and my 87-year-old grandfather got a new girlfriend, 27 years younger. About 2 months later, I was setting up a printer for his laptop, and in his bookmarks he had a few links to Viagra distributors. So now I know that my grandfather gets laid far more often than I do, and needs medication to get it up. Found a folder on my mom's computer titled Saints of My Children, found weird poetry and chat logs of some guy offering to kill my wife and me. My cousin worked for a summer doing IT stuff for her mom's company. She worked on a co-worker's laptop and discovered explicit emails indicating he was sleeping with her mom, who was still married to her dad. Found a load of pee while working on a client's computer. Lots of browsers cuts and fragments of videos. Come to find out, he wasn't obsessed with pee at all. He was an editor for browsers. Was asked to double check a bunch of computers for pictures and identifying information before recycling the towers. Found the Win98 machine that hadn't seen the internet in a very long time, and on it was Napster, just like we choose to remember it, along with ICQ, Yahoo Messenger, and CompuServe. A computer fossil. A photo album full of polar bears with Coke bottles photoshopped onto their hands, like very badly done. Like 40 photos. I was just trying to update a friend's drivers and couldn't resist opening the folder called Coke Bears. A relative once asked me to help find some files on her very cluttered hard disk. When search failed me, I started browsing through folders. When I found it, pictures of pillows. Every single type of pillow possible, with lots of different colors and decorations. There were literally thousands of pictures, including some with what looked like bloodstains on them. Worked at a law firm. Started getting calls in the morning that some random attorneys could not log in. When we checked out their computer, it turned out they were ignoring their username, which was defaulted to the last user logged in. It turned out someone was logging in as user library. Checked out the law library and sure enough, a sticky note with the library username and password existed just above the monitor. This routine persisted for a few more weeks as I tried to figure out how to catch the culprit. Sure, I could disable the account, but then we never find out who is ducking into random offices surfing pee that was in the cache of the library user account on the local machine. We used a startup script called Kickstart, highly configurable to do whatever you need it to do. So I added to the startup script to email the administration group whenever the library user logs in. First night, I get the email. Late at night, I call security and ask them to check our floor. Nothing too unusual. We ask them to check floors occasionally due to stuck open doors from positive airflow, etc. They replied back all clear. Huh, weird. Okay. Second night, same story. Nothing unusual reported back from security. However, the next morning I come in to have a request from an attorney to help him log in. Same computer from the night before. Default user. You guessed it. Library. This attorney had poor eyesight. As I'm clicking away checking out the browsing history our mystery library user left behind, I notice something out of the corner of my eye. A couple dabs of Elmer's glue. It's early. Pre-coffee. What's an attorney doing with glue? Then I realize what I'm staring at. Not glue. I threw up in my mouth a little. Fast forward a week. Happens again. Email notification late at night. Security called. Also notice another attorney logged in a few offices down. I called him immediately and asked him to check the office where we saw the library user logged in. He checks and reports back a few minutes later. Nothing unusual, just a security guard. I just called security no less than 2 minutes before. No way they could get to the top floor in time to check on our request. It was the security guard yanking on his brake. Notified the building manager the following morning. They pulled him in, questioned him, and he admitted his guilt. He was dismissed immediately. I placed my hand on the user's mouse and my hand stuck due to lube on the mouse. Computer itself could hardly function due to pee pop-ups. Yeah, lube on the mouse. Yeah. My friend's mom. 7 antivirus installed. That is has 6-inch tall of toolbars. 52 GBs of pee. 1 TB of gore. I never touched that computer again. I had a coworker that wanted me to come by his house to fix his PC. This was like 15 years ago. He takes me up to his bedroom. Not too unusual. He was having internet connection issues. I was so focused on checking cabling to his modem, router, etc. under the desk that it took me a while to also notice next to the desk the camera on a tripod, pointed at the bed. It all clicked when I finally got the interwebs working again, launched his browser, and his homepage was some couples sharing kink website. My grandma was having problems. Looked at her history and there was a crap ton of gangbang pee. I worked at a computer store chain as a tech in the service department. I had this guy come in one day saying that he needed me to find incriminating photos of his wife that he knew were on there of her cheating with some guy. I informed him that the best I could do is a bulk search for all images on the HDD and back up to CD DVD. He insisted on watching me search for the images. My manager approved this and we begun the search and backup. Sure as crap there were about 200 photos of his wife fricking about 5 different dudes at 5 different times, spanning a few months. However, there were also photos of the guy standing right next to me, also fricking his wife. I remained as professional as possible all while he was leaning in and whispering sorry after every photo of him popped up. We copied them to DVD for him and sent him on his way. Now, we offered a service in which we carried out computers, monitors, printers or whatever hardware. I didn't offer that to this guy, but he asked if I could carry his computer out for him. I thought this was very strange as he was more than fit enough to carry it and he had carried it in to begin with. Once outside, he insisted on me taking $200 cash as a thanks for doing this for me and you shouldn't have to see this sort of crap. While we weren't supposed to accept these sorts of tips, I wasn't making much at that place and I had to see some old dude's butthole and junk. So yeah, I graciously accepted his money, wished him the best of luck and sent him on his way. I did see him one more time, several months later. He was buying a new computer. He didn't say anything to me and I didn't to him. I sometimes wonder if he won the court battle or if she's still alive. I work in a senior day center but I used to do software development, so every now and then one of the other staff will ask me to fix whatever computer problems they're having. One time one of the nursing assistants asked me to look at her laptop and had brought it in. I told her I'd look at it during my lunch break, different time from hers, and she said fine. So I opened the thing up in the break room only to be confronted with a bunch of windows with very explicit pictures of her and her boyfriend, the topmost picture being his BBC. Fortunately the only person in the room was across the table and couldn't see anything, but I noped the heck out of there. I gave her a little crap for potentially getting me fired, but was kind of fun to have her squirm knowing what I'd seen. Not me, but a friend borrowed his lieutenant's computer while we were deployed to Iraq. Found a lot of child pee on it. Pictures of his balls on soldiers while they were sleeping. You know the usual. Yeah, he's a level 2 sex offender now. I lent a friend a use of my laptop for a 3-hour game of D&D. He used a site called For Affinity to download lots of Nazi dog pee. Drawings of Doberman and Nazi uniforms fricking each other. When I confronted him he said you'd think there'd be more German shepherds. Neighbor asked to have their son's computer looked at because it kept blue screening. I agreed and braced myself for a bunch of pee. The kid was 14. Nothing. A crap load of video games but no pee. What kind of 14-year-old boy who has his own PC has no pee? A customer brought his old HP tower in, and it absolutely reeked. A smell I can't even describe accurately, but it would be something along the lines of decaying nutsack cheese built up after a week of not showering and high intensity training. Anyhow, we don't work on it yet that day but end up having to wrap it in garbage bags and duct tape every opening to stop it from stinking up the tech area. The next day we come in and the bag is slightly open. The entire store stinks of this now. We had to open all doors and set up fans for airflow the entire day. We unwrap the PC and connect it to power, in which a green-orange flume of debris comes out the power supply fan, making a smell that as the original stench seemed tolerable. As one brave tech gets close to press the CD drive button, as soon as he touches it you hear rustling, and as soon as the drive tray starts to pop open it was literally like you see in horror movies, a river of cockroaches pour out of the thing. We yank the power cords and run it outside, as well as spend the next 4 months trying different types of extermination to get rid of the infestation of our store. It was so bad event that our entire store full of introverted and non-confrontational techies managed enough bravery to call up the guy and actually tell him how unacceptable it was and that he needs to get his crap and leave. The guy responded, "Oh, it's not that bad really," but didn't give up much of a fight other than that. I can't even begin to imagine how awful of conditions this guy must have lived in to have a PC this awful. I don't even know how the thing functioned. A video of 3 guys helping a guitar player woman. They walked the guy out the door 15 minutes later. While I was in high school I also worked for the school district as a student computer tech. My English teacher said her friend's computer was acting up and they wanted some help. After some general tinkering with settings, dumping caches, defragging disks, and uninstalling some bloatware, I determined they could use a clean install of the OS. So I started to copy all their files to an external drive and was prepping a new partition to install the OS on. Well, you know those neat previews of the files you're transferring? I started seeing nothing but weird 80s clown pee. Yeah, did I mention I was doing this at my school too? Ended up just locking the computer in a closet for the remainder of the file transfers, configured the computer with all their files, and pretended I didn't see a thing when I gave it back. I grew up in a smaller town. I helped start a computer repair place in my teens. A girl from school told her dad to bring his computer into our shop when it needed to be repaired. Upon doing tests and cleaning things up, I found child pee. But it wasn't random child pee. It was this guy's daughters. I could clearly recognize them. The FBI was in the same building as us, so I went upstairs at age 16 and told them what was going on. They arrested the guy the same day. Turns out he'd been abusing them since they were toddlers. I never said anything to the girl, but I knew she knew I put her dad in jail. She never said anything to me. I have no clue if she was relieved or hated me. A friend of my dad asked me if I could take a look at their family computer because Windows kept complaining about running out of disk space while there was nothing on there. I took a quick peek and indeed, not much going on. Barely any programs installed. No games on the C drive. There were some games installed through Steam from their 16-year-old son, but he was smart enough to place them on a second drive. Videos folder empty. Picture folder empty. Documents looked fairly clean. So I download Windowstat, and to my surprise it finds nearly 175 gigabytes of data in the documents folder. At this point I already knew what was going on here, and I told the dad who was standing beside me that it would take a while. So he offered to go pick up some food for us 3. His son was home too, and left. There was a folder for save files from GTA 3, with 175 gigabytes of images hidden in it. 175 gigabytes of hentai, nicely organized in multiple subfolders by name, fetish, etc. I moved the folder in its entirety to the other partition under some random name and had a little chat with their son. He was so embarrassed but promised he would keep them somewhere safe from now on. I just told dad that there were tons of log files being generated by some app that didn't work right and kept it at that. You've been visited by luckiest pig in the world. Comment lucky piggy below to get some of his luck. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, Have a great day, you magnificent people.